Hello and welcome to Penguin Racing TV. Joining us today in the United States, just north of Braselton, Georgia, at the iconic Road Atlanta Raceway, home to the Petit Le Mans 10 hours of this significant circuit. Joining me in the commentary booth today is Martin Pearson. Martin, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Isaac. How about yourself?
I have never been better, and I'm excited to watch 40 minutes of GT3s tackling this remarkable circuit as we're coming to the end of qualifying now. And as it currently stands, Ole Steinbraten, one of the RSR esports drivers, is sitting on provisional pole, a good 1.5 tenths ahead of the next car. And looking at how close these qualifying times are, if this is anything to go off of, this race is going to be an absolute stalker, like GT3 racing and iRacing always is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic race. Top Split always attracts the best drivers, and if we can get the stream sorted out, then we'll be good to go. It's a bit blurry at the moment, I do apologise.
This is done a little bit last minute in the usual professional Penguin Racing TV manner. But nonetheless, we'll try to do our best and bring you, if not the most professional commentary in the world, at least we're having a bit of fun. Hopefully you guys are as well. as we come to the end of qualifying. All the drivers are off circuit at the moment. We've got 1 minute until qualifying gets shortened and we'll go through into the race session. And as everybody has done their 2 flying laps, it looks like we can give you a somewhat solid running of the current standings. Only one driver not to have set a lap time at the moment, that's Martin Morsling. One of the few drivers running a BMW in this heavily Mercedes-dominated field. Only 5 BMWs coming out today, and the rest running Mercedes of this 28-car grid, which means that it looks like the car to be in is the Merc, considering it's not only are they making up a significant portion of the grid, they're locked out the top 18. Top 9, front 9 rows of the grid are all Mercedes before we've got Angel Gonvera in the first of our BMWs. "12 seconds left now before we go through into the race session. We'll get some lovely shots of the grid lining up as all the drivers get ready for their formation lap around this 2.5-mile circuit. Just 12 corners to navigate for the drivers here. Well, 12 officially, although they are counting the chicane as 1 corner, which I'm not all for. But then again, we've also got 2 corners on that back straight, which isn't straight. Kind of a Red Bull Ring turn 2 ordeal here. And in the comments, let us guys know what you think of that. Is that run into turn 2 out of turn 1? Have you got a corner before the hairpin at Red Bull Ring, just like here coming out of turn 7 onto the back straight? I call it a straight, but official counting reckons there's 2. Pardon?
It's not a straight, let's be honest.
No, it isn't.
But it is a straight. It's not a straight.
It is. It isn't. I mean, it's one of those. It's one of those. As we're now getting ready for the cars to line up on the grid, and I'll give you our starting positions as we have Ole Steinbrat and one of the RSR Esports cars lining up on pole position with James Armstrong in second place. So the 2 and 3 rated cars, both running over 7,000 I rating. As we get down to Jesse Jones, that's our second RSR Esports driver. We're going to see a lot of those in that race today, and a lot of them are going to be at the sharp end. 4th place, we've got Louis Nasher, a very competitive driver coming at the highest rated in the session at 8.9 KI rating. As we then go to one of the lowest I rated drivers qualified in a stunning 5th place, Marley Joffer, before we go into another Scandinavian driver, Oskari Kakinen. David Goult and Barry Ardens are locking out the 4th row on the grid with Jas Garby and Henri Sauvage taking out the 5th row. Niels H. Buckart and Tyson Meyer are out there on the 6th row of the grid with Jussi Ritala. Oh my poor pronunciation there. And Steve Mello taking out there on the 7th row of the grid. Veal Hattinen and Jake Sherrill JC are then lining up 16th and 17th respectively. And then we look to 18th with Hassan Yildirim and Angel Gunvera, who is the first of our BMW runners, lining up alongside Jens Wolters and Christian Korn just behind. Jasper Anders is the car behind as they get rolling, lining up next to Thomas Johnson 19. One of the most average races on the grid, however running the best livery. Samuel Jordan is coming in alongside Alexis Alace Tapayovico, and Martin Morsling is there taking out the final row of the grid, and the only driver not to set a time.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for holding it together, Isaac there. Brilliantly done, and we are back underway.
Cars are making their way around the formation lap, like I said, 2.5 miles as they come through the S's now and out of turn number 5 onto the stretch before the back straight. A difficult corner they're about to come into at turn 6. We're following on board with the pace car. We see a lot of moves made here and a lot of takeouts as well. Iconically, last year we had Marcus Solholm in Top Split having a heavy collision with the leading GTE car As you remember, last year, it was the last year that we ran GTE cars in the Petite Le Mans, as Marcus then went on to take a 6th place in his first top split appearance. Hopefully we're not going to see the same thing here today, and everyone's going to be able to keep it clean throughout this 40-minute sprint race. Riding on board now at the back of the field with Thomas Johnson. As you can see, these BMWs back here, it doesn't look like they're the car to be in. Normally, traditionally in iRacing has been a standpoint of BMW domination, but it looks like not at the moment, as we have, just like F1 the last couple of years, a Mercedes lockout all the way back to 18th place, like I've mentioned before, as these drivers are getting ready down the back straight, the chicane to navigate before our leader, Ole, takes to the grid. As we can see, the lights are out on the pace car as they come round turns number 10A and 10B, as Ole's starting to slow up here, checking everyone up as we've got, you see the Williams Esports drivers there getting right on the bumpers as we get ready, and they're away racing. He's got an early start before the final corner, and Ole carries on his lead in towards turn 1 as they're going 2, 3 abreast back there as they can shuffle their way down to single file into turn 1, a touch of grass as you see dirt getting kicked up there, and order stays much the same throughout the top end of the field. Ole leading into the S's for the first time, as back further down the field it looks like we don't have any collisions as Tom Johnson trying to get 3 wide round the outside and getting it all shades of wrong as he nearly hits the grass, or does hit the grass rather, and has to take a shortcut across to turn number 3. Back up with our leaders now, and it's James Armstrong who's giving hot chase onto Ole Steinbraten, our leader, and is he going to be able to catch at the moment? We've got a leading 4 cars here have already managed to establish themselves a gap of 0.6 over the cars behind, which doesn't sound like a lot to most iRacers, but in top split these are the kind of margins that you're talking with when they're racing with hundreds and thousands.
Yeah, absolutely right there, Isaac. Brilliant start by Ole Steinbraten there, followed closely by Brabham Esports driver James Armstrong. So we've got an average of only 7.5k at the front of our field there, and Jesse Jones following closely behind in the RSR Esports cars. They complete lap 1 down the hill. Looks like Armstrong's closed in slightly, maybe looking for a move into turn 1.
Absolutely, and as we can see back there, Louis Nasher in the Williams Esports livery has dropped back significantly from that top leading 3 down the back straight, telling me that maybe he's not running as maybe he's running more downforce than the other cars, as he didn't seem to have a bad chicane, but he's definitely dropped back there. We're going to be able to see him close up, and perhaps his pecking point will be coming down here in towards turn number 5 at the end of the S's, as the leaders make their way through now with James Armstrong again giving hot pursuit all over the rear end and in the mirrors of Ole.
Yeah, it's absolutely packed throughout the field. I look at my timing screen and there's only a second between a few of the cars. The rest of the 28 are absolutely nose to tail all the way down. And looks like David Gould has lost 9 places so far. Let's see if we can find his incident. Looks like he's been off track at turn 1, taking a bit wide. There's a lot of curb there, and unfortunately that's sucked him off the track, and he's taken a shortcut through turn 2 all the way to turn 3 and lost a few places there. He's currently down 9 positions. So we head back to the front of the field. They're now just completed lap 2. Ole Steinbraten at the front has done a 15.7, just over a tenth quicker than James Armstrong behind. He's done 15.8 obviously, and yeah, these top 4 are breaking away at the moment.
Indeed, Martin, at 15.7, that there is a bloody quick time. That would have put him in the top 10 in qualifying, and he's managed to go ahead and do that in the race pace on the opening lap of the race, just showing how fast these guys really are when they're setting. Well, that'd be pole in any other split, and these guys are doing it as race pace. It shows how quick these guys really are. As coming onto the back straight now, you can hear that V8 roaring of this relatively new Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Relatively new to the iRacing service as they stream ahead, and it's definitely a 4-car breakaway here, and the driver giving hot pursuit is Oskari Kakkonen, just further back, who's going to be trying to make his way up, as James Armstrong can't get quite close enough into the chicane, showing a bit of nose but just trying to put Ole off up ahead. But Ole is used to this kind of pressure, and well, it's not pressure to these guys, they lap this up with lust. This is this is what really gets these guys going.
Yeah, it's just a typical Tuesday evening for them, as we see Dyson Meyer of Geodesic Esports has made one move and he's made another down the inside. He's absolutely solidified that against Neil Brockhatter behind him now. So braking for turn 3, losing a lot of curb. You see all of them bouncing over the curbs there. Brilliant stuff on the iRacing platform.
Dyson Meyer, known better to many as Quirkatized on his Twitch channel. Been fortunate enough to race against him several times, and he's pretty bloody quick. Big following on the iRacing, by the iRacing community. In that, again, iconic colours of the Geodesic Racing, as we now look at Casper Anderson, who's leading this train here of, let's try and count together now, it looks like another 4-car train, together with David Guttel, the driver we saw having an off similar to Thomas Johnson at the start of the race, which into turn 1 is all too easy to do, and I won't be surprised if we see more instances like it happening later in the race.
Yeah, unfortunate for David so far. He's lost 13 positions so far. Oh, as we've had a spinner at the chicane. 10A, 10B's claimed its first victim. Let's see if we can get the replay up. So we have San Yidirim is now done here, braking for 10A. He's lost it. I think he closed up a little bit close to a little bit more than he anticipated. The car ahead of him under braking. Makes the right decision by reversing out of the way. Oh, a little bit too far, unfortunately. A little bit of rear wing damage there, but he's underway again, and he's lost a lot of time there. He's now down 10 positions and 8 seconds off the final car. And speaking of back markers, Thomas Johnson 19, our friend, our colleague, should we say, holding up a couple of drivers here.
I wouldn't say holding up. Maybe he's giving battle, as we see Samuel Jordan trying to do a cheeky move around the outside there into turn number 6. He can't get it done, though, and I think this is where we're going to see this Mercedes really step into its own as we come onto this back straight here out of turn 7 through the kinks of 8 and 9. And he's right in the slipstream, tucked up, and pulls to the outside. He's going to have the outside line going into turns 10A and 10B of the chicane as they're side by side coming down towards the chicane. Who's going to be the bravest on the brakes? And Thomas Johnson tries to keep it, and he does. He manages to fend off the aggressive Samuel Jordan, who's down 1 place off the start. Samuel Jordan does a textbook over-under on exit as Tom Johnson runs slightly wide through the second part of the chicane, and Samuel takes the position, and it's now Tom's job to win back.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Mr. 19, but he's got plenty of time left, as we've only just about to pass 7 minutes into this race, so 33 minutes left, and there's always the strategic balance of what happens when they all pit for fuel, because obviously these cars are not allowed to be filled enough full of fuel to do the whole 40 minutes, so they will be coming in the final third.
Indeed, they will. They're going to have to pit in, like you're saying, Mine, to get extra fuel. These cars are limited on the amount of fuel they can carry on board, running 60% of full capacity, meaning that the drivers will have to pit in with roughly 30 minutes to get. After about 30 minutes, they'll be taking on roughly a quarter of a full tank to get them to the end. And it might be a case of fuel-saving wins here as we're looking at how close these leaders are. Ole seems to have established a small gap there as he's now running at half a second ahead of our second-place car, James Armstrong, although last time round, yes, Ole was the faster of the two by 0.2. Yeah,
but 0.2 is a massive margin here at Road Atlanta when we've got a really long straight all the way down to 10A, 10B. You know, you want to make sure that it's a second place car, you're using that slipstream and making most of it what you can. As we look at Steve Malo of RD Sim Sport fighting Niels Brockhart for 13th. Steve's up 1 position so far, 4.6k rated driver, set his fastest lap last time round, so be looking for another one of those and see if he makes a move into 10A and 10B down the back straight.
Didn't seem to get quite a good as exit as Niels Brockhart in the Mercedes, just ahead of him in the number 16 car. Niels down 1 place, lost out to Jussi Rutakala off the start, whereas Steve has gained another place, passing A couple drives off the start as he's not close enough to make this move here as they're encroaching on. Is that a Lego livery car?
It's
Can't be, is it? No, it's
car.
Oh, now that I like.
Yeah,
I could fully get behind that.
Yeah, just don't stand on it or, you know, crawl across the floor and kneel on it, because that thing will hurt.
I was going to say, it's going to hurt if there's a crash, although behind we can see Mello trying to make the move done. He's weaving back and forth across the straight, and he's got a compromised run through turn 1, although he's taking the defensive line up here in towards turn 3, and there's still no change of position here as we're looking at the battle for 12th place, as now this looks like it's going to be a 3-car battle as a driver behind the Finnsman of Hartinan is now gaining, and I reckon coming onto this next back straight we're going to see the Coffin Dancers driver all over the rear end of these two as they're side by side heading into turn number 6, and I can't even finish my sentences before moves are getting made up ahead, and they're bump drafting one another through the corners. And is this where we're going to see Steve get the run out again? Can't get the power down as well as Ricard, the German driver, ahead of him, and now he's got an angry Finn all over his rear end as we head down towards the chicane, and this is where I think we're going to see a move for position.
There's a big defensive move there by Melo. He manages to keep it hooked into 10A through 10B. It's all right there, and over the crest he goes. So this is the end of lap 8. They'll be starting lap 9 as they cross the stripe this time by. And it looks like Tyson Myers lost out to the Lego car. So we have a look back at this into turn 7 this will be. So Jussi Rutula goes down the inside and solidifies a solid move into the top 10.
I wouldn't write Tyson Meyer off, though. I reckon he'll be looking to get ahead to the cars up ahead as we see a big slide from Hassan Yildirim. How's he avoided the wall there? Although, is he going to collect it again? Well done. Well done to Hassan for keeping it out of the wall. Did he just tap the grass on entry there? I didn't quite see what happened, as it looked like he took a
look, shall we? He comes down through the S's. Yeah, a little bit of grass on the inside and then clips the end of the curb, which destabilizes the car massively just by hitting the end of the curb there, and he's a passenger from that point forward.
Yeah.
So we switch back to Steve Melo of RD Simsport going down the inside of Niels Burkhardt. He's got overlap this time round. They've still got overlap. Oh no, there's a touch, and Melo's round into the gravel backwards. Oh, I'd be ruining that. I think there's a reasonable amount of room given there, but yeah, unfortunate that the two lines came across each other through the second part of turn 10. But now there's an absolute melee on the front straight. 4 cars abreast across straight. There's another touch on settles the Castrol BMW of Angel Guerva. Right, this is all going. Oh no, and Melo's gone off. He's done the Tom Robinson shortcut to turn 3, and I'm surprised this is top split stuff. What about you, Isaac? There's more mayhem going on further back.
You can hear in the voice chat Casper Anderson getting very annoyed in his BMW at the drivers up ahead of them, and his Mercedes, sorry, as the drivers up ahead of them as they're cutting across the track and making all sorts of mistakes as we see more drivers hitting the grass. This time it's Aleix Vico who's managed to tap the grass in the end of turn 5 and just slotting in behind the Carl Simsport driver of Pierre Schalgaard, as Thomas Johnson is slowly but surely making his way forward as off the inside. Jens Wolters is trying to make a move. Tom Johnson not letting it happen though as he settles in and tries to defend from 2 aggressive BMWs behind him as they tuck right up underneath that massive rear wing, and not able to get close enough as we go ahead to Angel Guevara, who isn't close enough to make a move. 6 cars in a train. How they're not pushing one another through these corners, I don't know. And that very iconic Castrol livery we would normally see on the MotoGP Honda. As we come onto the start-finish straight, and Steve Mello's now trying to make a move on Christian Korn, the leading BMW in this race so far. And can you make it around the outside? Last time you were there, you cut the gravel, Steve, so watch out what you're doing. And wasn't able to make it stick, and now he's going to be under pressure from the absolute pig-nosed BMW. As behind, they're going too wide through turn 3.
Yeah, it's absolutely frenetic stuff at the back end of the top 20. This is absolutely brilliant. At least there's a race has arrived in front of Thomas Johnson. He'd be enjoying this now, I think, and he's back to 24th where he started on the grid. And it'll be interesting to hear what we say about his setup and car choice for his first VRS race this week later on. But no, powering down the back straight now towards the crucial braking area. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Crikey, there's about 9 cars there in a line. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
This is exactly, Martin. Nail-biting stuff, and no one is going to be brave enough to pull the move. Saying that, somewhere along the line, looks like Steve Mellow's managed to get by the leading BMW of Christian Korn. Although Steve gets the exit roll again, Steve's unable to make a move stick here. As we look into turn 6, Steve up the inside, and Christian just doesn't have a chance to defend. Although he's back again, making a move up the inside into turn number 1, as we saw a bad exit from Mr. Mello on the corner exit, as we then get back into this BMW-led train where we see all 5 of our BMWs are part of, as 9 cars are battling their way out here for the 18th position.
Yeah, I'm absolutely speechless at the moment, Isaac, which is unusual for me, as you know. But just the amount of action going on back here is absolutely incredible. Should we have a quick look at what's happening up front, and then we maybe come back to this later. So we've got Ollie Steinraten in the lead by 0.7 of a second, followed by James Armstrong, and he has a second lead over Jesse James of RSR Esports in 4th position, and 3 seconds back, which is an eternity in this race. You can cover about 15 cars with that if you wanted, as we've seen. And then is Louis Naza, and then Oskari Karkinen is rounding out the top 5 for the moment. As per qualifying, only one change in the top 5 as Oskar Karkinen has managed to move up 1 place. Otherwise, the drivers are in the exact same place as they qualified. But back here is not the same story. As we try and see a move right now of the Mercedes of Aleix Vico going up the inside, holding it 2 by 2 through the first corner. Who's going to squeeze who out here? Ooh. And there's spinning round. There's a spinner. That's Agel Guevara, the BMW in the Castrol livery, that has managed to go round. And it looked like after Aleix managed to squeeze up the inside, was that Sam Jordan? It was the number 22 car trying to make his way up the inside, couldn't make it stick, and forced the BMW of Angel Guevara around, and Angel has decided to retire the car after that incident just happening on only our 12th lap of the race. Yeah, and by lap 12, Lars Meyer is our biggest mover and shaker of the race so far. He is up 7 positions from his starting position, currently P16, and in some clear air, so be pretty pleased with the race so far for him, and looking to make a bit more progress through the pit stop cycle.
Stellar performance from Lars at the moment, coming in at 3.8k, one of the lowest rated I-rated drivers in this session, and the 3.8k, to say that is something special, and running up in 16th place, a sterling performance from himself. As we look at the only loser in the top 5 off of the start, or he was in the top 5, now running in 6th, Marley Joffe, in that, what do you call it, iconic? Is it a classic? The Vodafone liveried Mercedes, usually ran at the Bathurst 12 hour.
Yeah, the old 888 race engineering when they used to run Holden's, and then I think before then maybe they ran the Ford Falcon as well. I'd say it's iconic, but I used to live down that way, not quite Australia, but New Zealand, and yeah, obviously when that's the closest motor racing, that's what you get into, I'd say it's iconic, and I think it is a beautiful livery. Well, of course, I'm forgetting the fact that we're both forgetting the fact that McLaren Mercedes ran. Oh, there's a big wiggle by Marley there out of 10B. Ran a similar livery in Formula 1, of course. Just shows what endurance races we are.
Exactly. Mine's instantly go to the 12 hours and sports cars over the snooze fest that is Formula 1 racing, as we now look through to one of our Finnish drivers just behind the Lego car of Hattinen. This is our 2 Finn driver train at the moment, with Rutel at the start and Hattinen behind, with Tyson Meyer, aka Quirketize, running just behind in 12th places. This is our battle for 10th, and the Lego machine appears to be holding up the cars behind them. Last time turning a lap of 16.9, whereas the 2 drivers behind are hot on the heels of our leading Finn here in this battle.
Yeah, I think Jussi Rottola needs to lose a few of his Lego bricks and piss off into the distance a little bit. He's definitely struggling to break away from these two. But nonetheless, top 10 finish in top split, and a popular time slot it is. I think we had over 150 sign-ups this evening, so yeah, not a bad effort so far.
Not at all, and yes, with those heavy rubber wheels that you have on the Lego cars, solid rubber nowhere in them, that's clearly got to be hampering his performance, and clearly so, as Hattinen in the white and red Mercedes just behind is going to make a move up the inside into turn number 1. Textbook maneuver. Although he run deep? No, it looks like Tala has just let him through into that corner, deciding to choose peace over war.
Yes. Just choosing not to step on a piece of Lego and be in pain. Little known fact about Lego, Isaac, you'd never guess, but they are the largest tyre manufacturer in the world by quantity.
With the little rubber tyres?
With the little rubber tyres, because you can't. It's much easier to make very, very small ones than it is very, very large ones.
Oh, I'd love to see them get introduced into the tyre war that exists across motor racing, typically between Bridgestone and Michelin. Add Lego in there as well, and I reckon that'd be an absolute cracker as we see this battle raging on here with Yasgarbi and Omri Savage. Just up the inside, Savage goes in the Ineos-sponsored car. You can tell the difference here. Apart from one's Puma, I didn't notice that. One's Puma, and one is a full Petronas F1 spec'd or liveried car, as that's a rather textbook move in up the inside, although it looks like Garby's got a good run there. And is he going to try and make a move into turn 1? He shows the nose but decides better of it as they hold position, and he gets it all shades of wrong. There's unforced error there by Garby as he runs wide at turn 1, like we've seen so many drivers do, and he's going to have a slowdown here, and that's going to allow the 3 drivers behind to make their way through, maybe even 4, and now he has to settle with 12th place behind Tyson Meyer and just ahead of David Guttel, who we saw losing out at the start with a very similar incident.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Garby. It looked like because he gave the position up initially quite easily, and then he was obviously trying to play the longer game, but not into the long grass, it seems, is not what he intended. Had reports of an incident for Martin Mausling, and I think he's been off. Oh no, he's hit the wall on the exit of turn 7. That has fired him into the inside wall on the straight towards. Sorry, that's between 5 and 6, isn't it? Oh, that's a big hit. So no smoke coming out of the car that we can see, other than tyre smoke as he gets going again. But yeah, he's parked that, and I think that'll be his race done. Go back to Garby in 12th. But ahead of him is Meyer, Quirky Tyres, whatever you want to call him, trying to pressure the Lego car now of Rottola. We saw he couldn't pull away previously, Rottola in the Lego car, so see what Meyer can do right now.
Mercedes on Mercedes battle, which is pretty much all we're seeing here through the grid, as the geodesic car is all over the rear end of that beautiful Lego liveried Mercedes. And coming out of turn 5, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit is you get bounced off of that left-hand curb and have to fight yourself away from the gravel trap and that wall, and Tyson Meyer is ever closer to the rear end of that car. I reckon if we're going to see a move, it might be down here into turn 10A of the chicane. How's the exit? It's a good one from Tyson Meyer, but is it good enough as he tries to sit in the slipstream of Rottola? And is he close enough? I don't think he is, and he might have to wait another lap unless he's feeling brave and is going to send it from 2 tenths back.
Yeah, we'll just watch this as see someone's dropped through the order a little bit further back, so and our own Tom Stronson has managed to take advantage of it, so nothing came there of Meyer on Rottola. Let's have a look back at this. So Mercedes at turn 1, wide of the apex. Samuel Jordan has gone very wide. We've seen this before. It's almost it's writing a new copybook, but unfortunately it's in the grass cutting section, as he has 5 cars go past him, and reports again that he's gone off. So this is down into 10A. We've got a couple of cars battling ahead. Brakes, nothing untoward here. And has a silly little spin on the apex. That's really unfortunate to see. let's go back to a little bit more action, shall we? Not this one. Let's go, here we go. So here with our own Thomas Johnson going into turn 1 on the previous lap. Oh, squeezes the brake pedal on there as he gets really close to the bright yellow Mercedes ahead of him. Sapphire Sim Sport car looking absolutely superb. Hashtag Coda Factory. Once again.
Just like to take this moment to point out that myself and Martin are both team managers for Sapphire Sim Sport, along with Thomas Johnson, hence a small amount of massive bias towards the team, but against Tom. So if you wonder why the commentary is slightly different when it's on that car, that is why, as Thomas Johnson is all over the rear end of that ring taxied inspired Mercedes up ahead as we now go back to geodesic car. And has there been an error here? No, he hasn't. He's not been able to close up Meyer ahead as we see a blinking Mercedes of David Guttel, who's doing a sterling job of trying to recover his Mercedes back into the top 10, sitting in 12th at the moment. And other than the last lap where he made the pass, he seems to be one of the fastest cars on track at the moment.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget our top 3 or 4 or 5, because we were Ollie Steinbratton at the top again. So he's a 16.26 last time round. James Armstrong behind him a 16.1, and Jesse Jones a 16.23. So these top 3, top 4 even, with Louis Nazar as well as a 16.3, all setting very similar lap times within a tenth or two of each other, and really doing a solid job out there. As we have our first pit caller, Oskari Kakkonen is in the pits from 5th place, I believe he was. So this will be our first opportunity to get a read on how long it takes, or how much fuel that they're taking on between to get to the end of the race.
Small amount of damage there to the front right-hand corner of Oskari's Mercedes, as more cars are following suit and pitting in. One which is not is this black and pink liveried Steve Mello, who we saw battling earlier in the race for RD Simsport, running in 12th at the moment. Bearing in mind we have had 7 cars in the pits, as moving against Oskari Kakkonen in his red Multil Mercedes as he makes his way out, racing into turn 1. And this is the crunch point. Drivers are going to have to try and get as quicker outlaps as they can, trying to attempt this undercut here on the other drivers out on track, as I reckon we're going to have another 4 or 5 laps before we see the final pit stoppers coming in, where we're going to see under and overcuts respectively.
Yeah, so Oskari Kakkonen is our first pit caller, and he's also our quickest pit caller at the moment as well. 12.4 seconds he was stopped for, and that will only be fuel, no tyres needed in a short 40-minute sprint race like this. But remember that number, 12.4 seconds, as our leader pits. Let's see how long he stops for.
Everyone following suit of the trend-setting Finn up the road, as we have the top 10 entering the pit lane. Top 11 now. It seems like this is the maximum length that cars can run at 21 laps, as a slow getaway there from James Armstrong, and that's all of the help that Jesse Jones needed as he manages to power through on the pit exit, and he runs up into second, giving it an RSR Esports 1-2, as James Armstrong is going to have to sail for third, or settle he won't, as he'll be all over the rear end of that RSR Esports Mercedes, as I don't think it's going to be more than 2 laps before, maybe even the end of this lap, before Armstrong is showing his nose and trying to get by the Mercedes ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff by Jesse Jones there. You can see the launch that he got from his pit stall, and because he's not in a collidable car at that point in time, just absolutely literally went straight through James Armstrong and into second place. Absolutely brilliant stuff by him. So he stopped about 0.7 of a second shorter. So that is the difference there, and that is a position, but they are side by side as they're coming towards the breaking point for the turn 10 complex. Armstrong down the inside, and that looks like he parks on the apex a little bit, gets it all sorted out, and over the crest he goes to resume the race on lap 22 of this 40-minute race. So we are 28.5 minutes in, and he's back in P2, so only a small blip down to P3 very briefly.
won't even show up on the timing charts as a change in position, as it lasted for less than a lap. As we now look back here to the battle for 13th place, James Churchill, or Cheryl rather, James Cheryl and Niels Bricart in the cars behind here for a battle. Sorry, I've got that all wrong here. This is the battle for 12th place, as James Cheryl is the chasing car, chasing Niels Bricart in the Mercedes ahead of him. And that's quite a nice livery there. Jake's running, but not quite as nice as the 18th placed car. Can he get close enough through the S's? No, he can't. And this section of the track here is all just trying to build up to try and give yourself the best possible chance you can for getting a good exit out of turn number 7, or if you're brave enough, into this next corner here at turn 6. And if he looks close enough, is he going to go for the move? And he is looking up the inside. Cheryl's got to get late on the brakes and get brave, but Bricart gets it slightly locked up and runs deep and hands position to Cheryl. As nice move on that, and he's looking ahead now to Jasgarby, the Belgian, in that Puma Codis car.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's a little bit of side-to-side contact there, but with the camera shot that we've got, unable to see any more. Another report of Christian Korn, unfortunately, going off tracks. We saw a big issue for him earlier. Oh my goodness, he's been put in the wall! I don't think there's any other way to describe that the first time I've seen that. Oh no goodness. So unfortunately Tom Johnson has had maybe a little bit of input into that. Let's try and slow it down and see what we can do about getting a better view of this. So
Thomas Johnson trying to make it 3 wide into the chicane, and it looks like Christian just came across the front nose, and I can't really blame Johnson or the other Mercedes BMW involved of Jens Wolters there, as it seemed like Christian just tried to come across in a place which he really didn't belong.
Yeah, it's always one of those things. You could put the blame on Tom, but also at the same time you could say that, well, did Christian really need to be there? So unfortunate to see somebody else go out like that. We did see Christian have some issues earlier on, so it just kind of rounds off his race, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll regroup and go again.
As we've...
Sorry, cut across you there, Isaac. Ville Hartonen is now up 8 positions, so he equals Lars Meyer and set his fastest lap the previous lap time round, so it was a 16.3.5 as the fuel wears off, doing very good. And Lars Meyer is also up 8 positions at the moment, so doesn't quite have the gap that he used to have back to Steve Mailer of RD Sim Sport, but still in pretty clean air, I'd say.
Steve on a recovery drive here, trying to make himself back up into 14th where he started, and looking at his lap times, he's on course to do it. Last time running half a second faster than Lars in the Mercedes ahead of him, and 7/10 faster than the car ahead of them, Niels Bricart, although we saw him having a small lockup whilst with Jake Chirul. And he's got a big gap to gain here if he wants to get past, if he wants to catch up to Bricart, or Brookate rather, as I don't think Lars is going to prove too much of an issue, and if Lars is sensible enough, he should pull over to the side and just try and latch onto the back of Mello to drag him up to the duet battling up ahead.
Yeah, so Lars is currently 3.3 seconds behind the car of Niels Bricart ahead. Yes, with only 7.5 minutes left in this race, it would certainly be his prerogative, you'd think, to latch on the back of Melo, but then again, 7.5 minutes left. What are you going to do? You're going to fight hammer and tongs. So yeah, we'll come back to that a little bit later. It looks like Thomas Johnson's had a fantastic battle with a fellow BMW of Jens Wolters at turn 1, so side by side they go through. A little bit of hip and shoulder there, nothing untoward, and solidifies the place into turn 3 on the previous lap. Unfortunately, Samuel Jordan appears to have had another accident. So he goes through turn 7 there, gets it all a little bit sideways, rear end comes round to him, on him. The GT3 Merc isn't the easiest of cars in that scenario. I know I struggle, and that's probably why Tom's driving the BMW today, but yeah, good to see he didn't hit anything at least.
still out on track as Samuel is one position up as we see a punt off here at the top end of the field. That's James Armstrong off in the Brabham's Esports car. He was running in second place. Who did he make contact with there? Was that Jesse Jones? Yes, it was side by side, and a good meter or so of netcode there between the two drivers. It's unfortunate to see, but I don't know if Jesse had the right to that corner from that camera angle, or it looked like James just didn't leave him enough room.
Yeah, really difficult one there because it's a fast corner and you use a lot of curb on the inside. But as you see a replay of Steve Malo, as we correctly predicted, Isaac going down the inside of Lars Meyer. So it puts Malo into the 15th position. Solid work there. Only losing one from the starting position.
As we now look back to James Armstrong, running now in 4th place and on the rear end of Louis Nasser in that Williams Esports car. And these two ex-teammates of one another, running in Team Tepper those years ago. Now both of them are sitting at 8.9 and 7.1 KI rating respectively, and James, I don't think he's going to show any mercy for his old teammate, as he's going to try and get past as quickly as he can. Although that being said, that is no mean feat when you're battling with the best of the best in iRacing.
Yeah, looks like Louis Nasser's able to pull out a little bit of the gap there through past the stripe and through turn 3, brilliant stuff to ride on board. So finally got my cameras sorted. That was holding 4th gear down through Cascades, and they're using all of the road and more, a little bit of gravel, a bit more tarmac and a little bit of more grass, just for good measure as they brake hard into turn 6, tucking it in nicely, using the camber, using all of the curb in the braking area. Frustrating corner is turn 7, really difficult to get it turned in, absolutely no camber to help you out, but really flat corner. It falls off a little bit on exit as well, but
they are indeed, and somebody who's having a little bit of a rough start to their iRacing week is Marley Joffe in his Mercedes, the Vodafone livery, as he started off in 5th place, now down into 7th. Although still respectable when you're talking about top split here, and the car ahead of him was our first pit stopper, Oskari Karkkonen, in his Mottel liveried Mercedes.
Back with Jake Sherrill, JC, we called in with him earlier, commented that he's got a nice livery and he's got himself up 4 positions in the race, up to P13, and it's half a second behind Garby and half a second ahead of Brocard. So I think the Garby's livery, Isaac, is the one that Marciello and co ran at Spa 24 this year, if I'm not mistaken, complete with the Fanatec banner on the windscreen.
I do believe so. I believe it's the gentleman that makes all these liveries. I forget the surname. It's Michael something M. If you look on Trading Paints, he does replicas of all of the GT World Challenge cars and all the other disciplines when you're looking towards British GT, Intercontinental GT Challenge, and this is another one of his works, doing an excellent job of replicating Marciello's livery as they managed to not quite win the race, if I remember correctly. Martin, they come in the second. They won.
It was his first 24-hour win, and that is
really,
yep, genuinely. Do you remember the spat between when Lawrence Van Tor took out Dries Van Tor at Nürburgring?
Yes.
And there was a spat on Twitter about how Marciello's tweeted that he wouldn't want to be at the Van Tor family dinner the next time it happened, and I think it was Lawrence Van Tor replied, well, you know, maybe if you come round and you do a 10-hour dinner, we'll be able to give you some tips on how to actually win a 24-hour race. And it worked.
It did work. Clearly he attended dinner with two of the most successful brothers in endurance racing, if not the most successful duet at this moment in time, although running for different teams. As we look forward now to Tom Johnson again, as he is now getting himself involved in a 3-car spat with Jens Wolters and Aleix Vico in the Mercedes behind. Tom is the leading BMW in this race, running in 17th position and managing to gain a amazing 7 places, putting him on a net gain of 7. Same with Lars Meyer doing an excellent job after his off at the start of the race, and he's going to try and capitalise and pull away from the 2 cars behind as Aleix is applying the pressure, to Jens Wolters in that blue-orange Mercedes BMW
the Iron Brew
car.
BMW, I think we're going to say. Yes, car, well done, Isaac.
Thank you.
No, brilliant stuff by Tom there, as we give as much as we can, but unfortunately we do have to give him credit every now and again, as Aleix is about to look down the inside. No, he doesn't. There's not long left. We've got 45 seconds on the clock, so I reckon we may be on the final lap. Let's check in with our leader. So Ollie Steinbraten is coming down towards 10A and 10B for perhaps the final time, although there's 25. I reckon there'll be one more lap left. I think you're absolutely right there, Isaac. But absolutely stunning pace by Ollie. He was quickest car on track last lap by a tenth or more. And yeah, he's done very well indeed. A 7-second lead over Jesse Jones, who's coming through 10B now, accelerating up and over the hill. A bit of camo on the front of that. Looks as if he's had an accident in practice and changed to the spare nose cone. There's the white flag from Barney. We can see there in the top right-hand corner. As Louis Naza is under pressure from James Armstrong after his troubles earlier in the race.
Lap times were identical to the 100th last lap, as they're both applying pressure to one another. And this is Louis to lose at the moment, I do feel. So Armstrong's not going to go out without fighting as they come down towards turn number 6. 2 more overtaking opportunities realistically here for James. He's not going to be close enough for turn number 6, and he's got to have to get a good run here to get one down into the chicane complex of turn number 10. Is he going to be close enough? He's going to need a mistake here from Louis, and it's not going to come. Just 3 more corners now for Louis Nasser to make his way through, and he will secure himself a 3rd place and bottom step on the podium. As we go forward to our leader now, Ollie Steinbraten, after leading every single lap of the race and having pole position to come through with a clean sweep and take the victory here at Road Atlanta. Jesse Jones is 2nd, gaining 1 position after we saw James Armstrong have that off earlier in the race, as James can't get by Louis Nasser and has to settle for 4th place, and Louis takes the 3rd position on the podium. Barry Ardens is one of the other drivers coming home in 5th place as we look back as cars going side by side across the line. Who managed to get that there? We'll have a look post-race in the rundown. The Lego car doing a sterling job to finish inside the top 10, and David Guttel managing just to lose a net 4 places. Amazing recovery drive from the man, as Lars Meyer coming in with a net gain of 9 places, as Steve Mello must have had an incident that we missed at some point, coming back in 15th place. And in a moment, we're going to see Tom Johnson trying to make his way through. And it looks like, towards the end of the race there, got passed by Aleix Vico, in which we didn't quite catch.
So last lap action for Thomas Johnson, overtaking what looks to be a back marker, I think that was, because that's a pretty darn beat up car, but that allows the car behind him to get a bit of a run. I think that is Niels Bricard on his right hand side, and has to let him go into the braking area. Niels goes through, and he can't quite get him back before the line, but brilliant stuff, brilliant racing there by Tom, up 6 places from where he started, and not an ideal turn 1 as we saw.
Ran out of fuel.
He's ran out of fuel.
He ran out of fuel across the line. That was Aleix going past Tom there, as he's only just managed to finish ahead of Jeffrey Commel in that black Mercedes ahead. So not able to have enough fuel on board to make it to the line. Not what you want to see from a maths teacher.
Absolutely great point there made, and I've just had to scroll back through the what do you call it, through the pit stop times, and 11.3 seconds there. So I think he's cut it a little bit short compared to what everyone else has managed to do. So let's try and get some results up, shall we? Oh, I almost get. There we go. So, Ollie Steinbraten winner, and as Isaac rightly pointed out, leader of every single lap of this 40-minute thriller in Road Atlanta, Georgia. 7.2 seconds behind him, Jesse Jones, after a close coming together with maybe a bit of netcode with James Armstrong. Naza finished third, pretty solid race from him. And Armstrong of Brahman Esports really pushing on in the early stages, had a poor exit from the pit lane, but soon got it back to second and then had a coming together at turn 3 with aforementioned Jones, finishes 12 seconds behind. Barry Aarons, just under 19s, back. Oscar Karkinen, Hartinen, Joffe, Rutela, Salvage, Guttel, and Garby, that is in 12th. Just rounding out 40 seconds there. JC in 13th. Meyer, one of our big movers and shakers of the race, in 14th. Melo again for RD Simsport in 15th. Leish 16th. Niels Brocart prevailing over Thomas Johnson for 17th and 18th positions.
So we look through to the closing drivers. Jeffrey Commel finished in 19th place ahead of Jens Wolters, the second place of our BMW drivers. Only 2 managing to make the end of the race of the original 5 starters. As we look back now to Hassan Yildirim, after his early offs in the race, managing to make his way back to 21st place. Ahead of Casper Anderson and Pierre Schalgart are 22nd and 23rd respectively, with Samuel Jordan finishing in 24th before we get into our non-finishers for the race. Christian Korn, after his big incident with Thomas Johnson and Jens Wolters, was one of our final DNFer there. Unfortunate to see him go out in such a manner, with Tyson Meyer, after getting a dropout halfway through the race, meant that he was unable to continue. Martin Molsing and Angel Guevara are the final 2 drivers in 27th and 28th, unable to make it to the end of the race after they suffered early issues, meaning that they couldn't carry on. Well, all in all, the race lived up to its expectations, as you'd expect from a top split race, and a dominating performance from Ole at the top, but the midfield battle was non-stop for the full 40 minutes.
Yeah, those midfield battles were absolutely mad, and brilliant to see. What the mayhem can produce in top split, because obviously everybody is of a very high caliber. I think strength of field was about 4.7k, so that's a lot of I ratings, I'll have you know, and no, brilliant stuff there.
Really was. And the biggest gainer of the race was Aleix, as we saw him passing Thomas Johnson just across the line, gaining 10 places, Aleix, after starting in 26th place and coming through to finish in a stunning 16th for the 17 rated car. So, Martin, I think that concludes our
return to broadcasting.
Oh, heck yeah.
How's it
Don't
felt?
expect any more.
Don't expect any more. Not for another 3 years, no.
No, crikey. This is our yearly broadcast of a race that nobody asked for.
And nobody ever's going to want again.
I know, exactly that. But I enjoyed myself. I don't know if you enjoyed yourself.
I absolutely enjoyed myself as well. Thank you very much, Isaac, for having the idea and having me along. Apologies at the start of the broadcast. It was a little bit blurry. We managed to find 20/20 vision in the end, which was good. Yeah, I'd like to do some more, but unfortunately I'm on holiday the next 2 weeks. But I reckon we can do some IMSA as well. Get a bit of multi-class action in there, because we do love a bit of multi-class. Let's be honest.
It's no sports car racer doesn't like multi-class racing, and with iRacing's new build coming out next week, alongside the Pikes Peak Hill climb, waste of time. Hopefully, we'll be seeing a couple more. Yes, that's coming because Mount Washington was such a success. Yes, hopefully we're going to see some new sports cars coming in. Hypercar, maybe. I don't think so. Maybe not this year. Maybe come the end of season 4. But hopefully we'll see some new sports cars getting added at the end of this season. If not, maybe Magny Core. That's been hinted for quite a while. But we will see when those get released. And
don't mention the rain.
The rain. It's a pipe dream. They literally developed some screenshots, and that's all we've got to work with. Yeah, pipe dream. Yes. Excellent. So we'll prepare some streams for you guys in the coming month or so. And until then, arrivederci. Ciao.
Thanks very much for not interacting with us, and we'll catch you next time.
Laters.